Hello and welcome back to my channel. It's your girl Jodessy. So this video is gonna be interesting. This is gonna be how I was able to get my undergrad degree in English literature without reading a single book that was assigned to me. So before you guys freak out, and I'm not gonna say what schools I went to, but before you guys do freak out and are thinking like, oh my god, yeah, how did you get a degree, and like you cheated, and Lori whatever her name is, and you know, all this college admission scandals, no, I guarantee you that I took every class myself. I guarantee you that I wrote every paper myself. I guarantee you that I'm the name on the degree. They saw me, they graded me, but here's how I did it. So first things first, I just want to say that disclaimer, I'm an avid reader. I actually love to read. I just hate reading assigned books, and I don't know if it's a defiance issue when it came to me, or it's always been like that. I actually graduated high school as well without reading a single book assigned to me, and it'd be really, really bad because I would read other books in my English class, like, because I didn't want to read any of the class books. So here are some helpful tips if you want to pass without reading the book. Now, the online helps a lot, which I think is what makes it simple, and it makes you able to do stuff like this, like get a degree without reading the books. And for an English language, for an English literature major, if you're not sure or if you didn't know, there is a lot of required reading. I had classes where professors would have us read 2 or 3 500-page novels a week, and that was honestly cumbersome and not rational. So I honed my skills from high school, and I actually was able to complete my 4-year degree without reading a single assigned book. But I did read some other good things, like, you know. So first things first, what I would do is I would, 1, pay attention during class discussions. Always, always, always. If you're going to be checked out of the reading part, you cannot be checked out of the speaking part. So when they are speaking during class discussion, always, always, always. Now, I want you to take notes, write down important character names, etc. Write down important trends. So the themes and motifs of a novel, the great thing about theme, whenever you haven't read a book, you can always figure out a theme, because themes are meant to be universal, and one novel can have multiple themes. So when you haven't read the novel and you hear stuff about friends or about a relationship, you can say, well, I think one of the thematic topics would be betrayal. Somewhere in that damn book is gonna be some betrayal. Like, it's gonna be really simple. And then a lot of times in these English classes, what then happens is your comment sparks a thought in somebody that actually did read the book, because I think in college people are trying to be so smart and show that they're so smart and whatever, that they literally will piggyback off that and be like, oh wait, I would like to, like, if the professor's like, oh, can you tell me more? So you're like, okay, so I was thinking that, you know, some of the relationships between the characters, like, really relied on a trust that wasn't there. Boom, that's all it takes. You say something nice and vague, and then somebody trying to show off, get their little 10%, their little 20% participation. Or sometimes in college it goes as much as like 40%. So they'll be like, oh, I would like to add on. And I'm like, you know what, I'm gonna collect my thoughts. Go ahead. And they're like, well, I think what she's trying to say, or I totally agree with her, because when Persephone, and like they'll say their little piece, and and then somebody else, that will spark something in somebody else. The professor will respond. By the time it's time to come back to you, they done forgot all about you. They forgot that you were even in this, and they forgot that like you were a part of the conversation, and then you raise your hand, or maybe not, and you're like, you know what, that's exactly what I meant. Yes, that's That's exactly, you know what, you guys hit the nail on the head. You know how many class discussions that I got through with doing that? Like, it's actually ridiculous that I was able to get through so many class discussions. Hold on, let me close my windows because it's raining. So that's the first thing. My second thing is going to be Spark Notes. Spark Notes, Schmoop, whatever summaries you can find online. YouTube also has a really great summaries. Ha! Thanks, YouTube. Watch all the summaries. Read the summaries. Read them before class, read them in class. Instead of reading the book, actually read the chapter by chapter summaries. And with a lot of colleges, they use older text. You don't really get, so they've been read to death. You don't gotta read it. Everybody else read it for you. And they even go through themes, motifs, characters, major plot points, imagery, symbolism. Like, they'll tell you that the scarf that she wore on page 55 represented her mother's ghost. Like, perfect. So you'll read that and your brain will start churning and thinking of your own things. And then when you listen to these class discussions, you're able to then make those connections. You're able to connect what this person is saying that has magically found the time, and what this person is saying. So let me do a quick aside. When I was doing my undergrad, I actually was working 2 jobs. I was an after-school counselor and I also worked overnight at 7-Eleven. So I would always plan my schedule from 10, because I went to school an hour and a half away and I commuted. So I would plan my schedule from 10 a.m. to about 8 p.m. Meaning I would leave my house. I would wake up at 8, 7, sometimes 6:30, and I'd be on my way, get ready, be on my way. I think I had to leave my house by 8 to get to my 10 o'clock class, and my 10 o'clock class started at 10:10. So I would get there, and I would do this Monday, Wednesday, Friday. So I would get there, and then I would spend the whole day on campus. I would take naps, everything. Then I would get to then I would go home, and I would probably get home around midnight, and then I would sleep. Those would be my good days. The other days I would work as a camp counselor. So what happens is I would work as a camp counselor from about 2 to about 6, sometimes 7 if there, no, not never 7, like 5:36. So I'd work from 2 to 6 as a camp counselor on the other days, not Saturday and Sunday, and I would be doing that. I would also pick up babysitting shifts for earlier in the day to fill up that day. So like, let's say I picked up a babysitting shift from for a young baby from maybe 9 a.m. to 2, or 9 a.m. to 1, or something like that. And then I was able to go to my camp counselor. And then when I finished camp counselor, I went home. I took a nap, because I would get home at I was like an hour away from that job, 45 minutes. So I would get to my house by, I want to say 7:30, and then I would take a nap from 7:30 to about 10. So that was like 2.5, 3-hour nap. And then I would go on the bus right by my house, and I would travel another 30-40 minutes, depending on traffic, to 7-Eleven to work my 11 to 7 a.m. shift. So it's a lot going on. So what would happen is the days I would do that and then wake up at 7, leave work at 7 a.m. What I had to do from work at 7 a.m. was go to school. So I would go straight. Like, I would come here, I would come home, take a shower, change, go straight to school, because I had to leave by 8 to get to my classes on time. So the way my schedule was set up, I'm sorry, reading 500-page books was not a part of it. So you guys can judge me, you guys can comment below and tell me that I'm a horrible person, but literally sometimes people have to do what they have to do, and I wasn't willing to compromise my degree. The next thing I'm telling you, so for papers, so as an English major, you're asked to write papers. I think one of the papers that I might have BS'd the most on was a 10-page paper, and we were reading a Shakespearean poem. I forgot what they're called, but it was like my lover's eyes are nothing like the sun, something like that. Like, it just seemed like a diss track from Shakespeare. So we're reading a poem, and we had to pick one word from the poem, and we had to look up the word's etymology and write a 10-page paper on one of the words. So that was interesting. That was great because I didn't have to read like a novel, but I did have to read a bunch of sources and try to figure out that. And I had to think of, like, I was throwing in stuff like, oh my god, and yeah, it shows blah blah blah, like, I don't know, but that was 10 pages of absolute nonsense, and I think I got an A minus, a B plus. I actually did graduate with a pretty high, I'll tell you how I got my master's too, and I got my master's with 3.8. That was a little bit more difficult. I don't want to say a lot, but my undergrad, I graduated with like a 3 point something, and whatever. So when you're writing your papers, what you're going to want to do is, first things first, you are going to, especially if you didn't read the book, you're going to, again, check all the YouTube videos, and get all the summaries down. Make sure you get your characters straight. I would literally draw little character charts in my notebook so I can see the connections of the characters, because when you're reading a summary, it's coming at you really, really quick, and it's sometimes hard to keep the characters together and who's who and who does what, so you might get a little bit mixed up. So I would literally draw a character chart in my book, and I would jot down notes on the summary. This is what happens, this is what this person does, this is what this person says. Then you start recognizing these themes, these patterns. You can even Google to make sure you're what you're thinking about is correct. Then I also didn't buy any of the books, so because I didn't buy any of the books, I would find online PDFs, or if it wasn't available online, what I would do then was type in the name of the book, and then, like, To Kill a Mockingbird, Harper Lee, important quotes. So then I would look through the quotes and see which of the quotes more so lent to what I wanted to discuss about the book. So if I wanted to find a quote about betrayal, and I would find something that shows the connection between two characters, and then start speaking about betrayal, what it is, how is it represented throughout the course of the novel, what colors might symbolize that this or foreshadow that this betrayal was going to happen. Like, that's how I would write my papers, and I could go on for 20 pages on that. And I would go through, I would bring in outside research. So something that you can do is, especially in English, you can relate it to other works. So let's say I haven't read Unbroken, but I have read To Kill a Mockingbird, so I would then, or I haven't read, yeah, whatever, so basically I would then compare this novel to the one I did read, and a lot of my thing would be about the novel that I did read, with little touches of the novel I didn't read. And I don't know, I got away with it. Another thing is poems. So if you relate it to a poem, obviously poems are quicker reads, so you could relate it to a poem. Research articles, you don't really have to read them, you just have to, well, you should, but for the purposes, if it's a 150-page research article, your professor's not going to read it in order to check that whatever. So what you would do is you would read that overview. It tells you exactly what the person's arguing. You pick a quote, boom, you're done. Those are for research papers. It was pretty simple. Do I think that it's right? No, but literally, like, I was going through so much, and I was so happy to be able to finish my degree and keep my GPA up. It only worked for my English classes. In fact, my other classes, my math class, yep, if you got a cheat code, let me know. My psychology class, I actually really loved it. I didn't have a cheat code to that, but my professor was really straightforward. Another cheat code that I seem to have is how to another cheat code I seem to have is like to check Rate My Professor. I know ratemyprofessor.com is not is not like it's still active, but people don't really update the site. But trust me, these old like ratings and stuff like that, they're true. So how I navigated college was that if you weren't a hot tamale, and like they will give you a little piece of chili pepper, and if that chili pepper is on fire, it means that you're the best teacher ever. So if it wasn't a hot tamale next to your name, I would not, like, I would drop your class in 2 seconds. And I'm talking about like if it says TDA, like to be announced or whatever, the professor, and I go the first day of class and I hear your name and I type it in, and then it says that you're a 2. No, sorry, 5 or better, 4 or better, 4.5 or better. That's just how I would do it. Also, if a professor told if I read the professor's syllabus, I went the first 2 days and the class seemed too hard, or the class seemed like it was too extra, too much, I would just drop it and take the same course again with an easier professor and get the same credit. So I don't know if I'm playing the system, but it's legal. But thank you guys for watching. Let me know if you have any tricks that help you get through undergrad. I'm gonna actually, I think I'm gonna do a part 2 about my experience trying to use these same techniques at the master's degree level and getting a graduate degree. So let me know if you guys want that video. Don't forget to comment down below. It's your girl Jodessy. Don't forget to like, comment, and subscribe. Bye.